I had nodded down in a microsecond of sleep on Highway 290 in Chicago rush hour traffic. I was heading home after a 24-hour call. A year earlier, I would be falling asleep on the way to work on the mornings after a 36-hour call. This was just a way of life, and I didn't challenge it. Since medical school, I was trained that my most basic needs like food, sleep, and even a bathroom were secondary. The kicker is that the lessons I learned still affected my mindset years later, and I know it's not just me. Thankfully, I discovered how to slowly unravel those destructive patterns, and you can too. My message today is simple. Don't ignore your humanness. You can unlearn the habits and prioritize your health. Listen in and I'll show you how. Find the full transcript and more resources for physician moms at inspiredmommds.com/46. You're listening to Inspired Mom MDs with host Cindy Van Prague, helping physician moms take back control and prioritize what matters most so they thrive in private practice and at home. Hi there, and thank you so much for joining me today. All right, it starts early, right? Medical students are essentially taught to ignore hunger and thirst and exhaustion. They're taught to tough it out because service to the patients come first. I didn't argue or get upset about that. I had no choice. Instead, I learned ways to cope. I would make sure to call someone to talk me through that stretch of highway that lulled me to sleep. I would not drink water so I didn't have to beg a colleague to get me out of the OR for bathroom break, because that looks weak. And I made sure to eat at home before going to work, even when I wasn't hungry. I was taught to ignore the basic needs of sleep, food, and just getting time to run to the bathroom. And the situation really seemed temporary, right? It was just my training years. I could handle it. I could push through it. But the problem was that the repeated pattern of ignoring my own needs left a mark. It created pathways in my brain that became habits. And so it goes beyond training and continues to the first day as an attending, and then beyond that. It's not very temporary, right? By the time I was an attending, there were other really good reasons to ignore my needs, like I'm the newbie and I want to look strong or be strong, or I need to pull my weight and not ask for help. I was just as busy, in fact, more so than as a resident. So I kept pushing myself aside for the greater cause or good of being a good doctor. I was a good doctor that slowly deprives herself of basic needs. It sounds sinister when I look back at it now, and it was. Okay, now here's the good news, the turning point, the juicy stuff. Those old patterns of thought can be changed. Focus can be shifted to prioritize your own basic needs. And the answer is in you. You are a master. No, wait, you're a doctor of human physiology. So take a moment and turn your expert lens on yourself. It's time to take control of your lesson plan. So turn the expert lens on yourself, do a quick mental workup, and then discover which of your basic human needs is crying for attention. This is a type of change in mindset, right? Unfortunately, it often takes a tough lesson to change perspective. So I want to illustrate this just with a more lighthearted story. And this is a true story about my fledgling attempts at being a real gardener. So last spring, I headed to the local nursery as I've done for the past 5 or 6 years. I get all excited and I convince my daughter to come with me, and she's less excited each year, but she gets to pick out plants for herself and her brother. So we load up all these flowers and herbs and veggies, and that day I spotted the cutest little watermelon plant. And it was perfect because we love watermelon, and I have a friend in town and her plant was just like crazy successful. So I thought, the climate's good, this is meant to be. I bought one of those ground planters and I wedged it in this area in my kind of small backyard. And if you ever grown watermelon or melons before and you just have the basic knowledge of how that cute little plant could grow, then you can guess what's going to happen here. That little plant took over a large section of my backyard, crawling across the pavement and dipping into my pool despite my frequent trimming. I loved it though. I researched how to prune the vines and look for male and female flowers, and then several watermelons sprung up like almost overnight. So I invested time cutting out these pockets of screen material, from screen doors to encase each watermelon for protection. And they looked incredible. They looked like real watermelons. Until I proudly plucked one and I brought it inside. And when I cut it open, it was this pale pink, and it had no smell, and it tasted, well, awful. And you know what I had neglected? The soil. My hours of work and moments of pride over how good they looked was lost because inside they were pale and lacking any flavor. They didn't have the foundation for a good tasting watermelon. So this scenario reminds me of many doctor moms. They look good on the outside, right? All put together, but they're lacking the nutrition and sustenance from food and sleep and healthy habits. The answer for me as a gardener was to shift my focus to the nitty-gritty details of soil pH and nutrients, and that was kind of hard. And the answer for a doctor mom is to shift her mindset to the basic foundation of health, which includes self-care. Nourishing yourself just makes physiological sense. With careers in medicine, you and I know this. But it's hard to feel the drive to prioritize things that we're ingrained to ignore, or it's a habit to ignore. So this is where the mindset shift comes in. The day you no longer ignore your humanness may happen with just this loud aha moment. It's obvious. You get a set of lab results and some of them are abnormal all of a sudden. Or you hear the quiet whispers from your body telling you to please pay attention. For me, it's the last one. I hear or feel those small thoughts about like drinking more water so I don't get kidney stones, or pulling myself away from the computer to exercise because I know that is more important at that time. I challenge you to think about your body like that watermelon, and I mean this in the most kind way. Without the right soil, I crafted a beautiful watermelon, but it lacked the vital component of taste. Now, without the right nourishment of your human body, you may have crafted a life that's amazing, but without the inner capacity to fully enjoy it and thrive. Nutrition comes first. A mindset shift is away from thinking time for basic needs is a luxury and thinking it's a necessity. You are a human and require nourishment to function. So taking care of yourself is an investment, and it takes planning and sacrifice too. The good news is that it's not all or nothing. So there's this gradient of well-being. I like to show clients a picture of a wheel, and it's my wheel of well-being, and it has multiple spokes on it. And each spoke is important for the big picture of wellness. And each one's labeled, and they're things like sleep and exercise and nutrition and environment and relationships. And that's just some of them. So maybe there are just one or two areas of your life that are taking a hit right now, like, for example, nutrition. Maybe your diet sucks because you have no time to meal prep or shop for the good food, and you don't have time or a break in the day to sit down and actually eat it. Okay, so that's your area to nourish. Or maybe your challenging area is relationships with other people at work or home. Your inner voice may be hinting that, okay, just setting firm boundaries will work wonders on my peace of mind and free up precious time. So all the spokes on the wellness wheel contribute to being a healthy human. What are some areas that come to mind that you would love to nourish? It's time to unravel those old school lessons from medical training and the current competitive driving nature of medicine. Don't ignore your humanness, like the culture of medicine just keeps instilling in us. It's time to shift your mindset and reprioritize your own health. As a physician, you have so much knowledge about what to do. You can start now. Start with a simple thought. That's it, just for now, while you're driving, while you're listening to this. What is one thing that you can do today that would make an impact? So for me, this is to drink an extra 2 cups of water or a water bottle to help prevent kidney stones. Now, when you think of that thing, do it. It'll be something simple, an easy step. And then later on think, okay, what will you add tomorrow? I would love to hear your thoughts about this. You can always email me at cindy@inspiredmommds.com. And don't forget to join me next week for another dose of support and inspiration. Until then, take care of yourselves and take care of those who matter most. It's time to take control and thrive. Thank you for tuning in to Inspired Mom MDs. Please share with other physician moms and leave a review if you found value from this podcast.